Okay, so here's some more examples of completing the square. So let's say that we have the equation that says y is equal to all of this. So right here I have what y is equal to. It's equal to x squared plus 4x plus 1. If we want to write this in vertex form, we want to find some way to write it in the form y equals something squared, and so on. So if we think about it, we need to build a square. So let's take our x squareds and our 4x's, and if I split this up here, okay, if I build this square and I filled in this gap right here, this would be the square x by 2 and x by 2. So x plus 2 squared would give me all of this area here and all the way filled in. Unfortunately, I only really have one block. So if I look here, do I have more area here or do I have more area here? Think about this would be this all filled in, and this is what I actually have. So if we write the area of what I actually have, I have this whole square filled in, but I'm missing 3 blocks. So I have minus 3. So that's going to be my equation there. Okay, let's move over to this one. We've got x squared plus 6x plus 12. So if I build here, I've got my x squared. If I split up my 6x's, so I've got 3 on each side, so it builds a square. If I were to fill this in with all the blocks that I have, okay, I'd have what's displayed on my desk. Well, the area of this piece right here is x by 3 and x by 3. So this would be y equals x plus 3 squared. That's the area of this, but I was given all these blocks. So I was given the area of this plus an additional 3. So I'm going to say x plus 3 squared, which is all of this, plus 3. Okay, if we move over to this one over here, we have x squared minus 4x plus 9. So this time I don't really have any blocks that represent negative, but we can still kind of imagine it. So this is my x squared. I have minus 4x's. And if we think about it, if this distance is x and this is -1, -1 times x will give me a negative x. So I'll have 4 negative x's. And my 1's, I'm supposed to have plus 9, so I have all of this. And if you think about it, if this is -1 and this is -1, -1 times -1 is +1, so all my blocks are still positive like I wanted them to be. So this is the amount that I was given, because that's what y equals. And I want to find a way to rewrite this as a square and some others. So if I make it into a square, I use some of my blocks, but I still have some left over. So the square would be x plus 2 by x plus 2. So x plus 2 squared. And then I'm given an additional 5 blocks. So I have this much. So that means that this area here is the same as this here, because x squared, or x plus 2 squared is this amount plus my additional 5, which is, this is all the same as x squared plus 4x plus 9. So I want to look at an equation one that we don't try the blocks for, or that I just draw them out. So this one here, if I want to write this one in this form here, I'm going to have an x squared block, and then I have 3 x's, so I'm going to put 1 on this side and 1 on this side. But then I have another one, and so I'm going to have to break it in half. So I'm going to make like a half x on each of those there. And I'm given 1 block right now, but that's not enough to fill this in. So if we think about what the square's name would be, this distance here is x plus 1.5. So x plus 1.5 by x plus 1.5. Oops. So my square's area would be x plus 1.5. Well, if I made this square x plus 1.5, I would have all this filled in. Well, I don't have that all filled in. I have less than that. So I have this whole square minus these little chunks here. And if we look here, this is a half, or no, that's a 1 by a half. So this piece right here that I don't have would be a half. This other piece that I don't have would be another half. And this little tiny piece right here that I don't have is a fourth. So I have this whole area, but I'm missing those 3 spots. So I'm missing 1 1/4. So this is going to be my equation here. Okay, I'm going to show you one more. So let's try y equals x squared plus 4x plus, actually let's try minus 6 this time. So if we have an x squared here, I've got 4 x's, so I can split those up. 2x on this side and 2x on this side. Okay, well, if I write what the square would be, y would equal x plus, looks like that's 2 squared. That would be what it's all the way filled in at. Okay, but what I'm supposed to have is this amount actually minus 6. So I'm not even supposed to have this filled in, I'm supposed to have less than that. So if I did do this square, this would be filled in and I would have 4 pieces here. But I'm not supposed to have plus 4, I'm supposed to have minus 6. So if we think about it, if we have 4 blocks based on this, and I'm actually supposed to get to -6 blocks, how do I get from 4 down to -6? If you think about that, I'm going to have to subtract 10. So I have the area of this square minus 10. So the area of this square minus the 4 that I don't need, minus another 6 because I'm supposed to have minus 6. So this is what it's going to be in that form.